Good day, everyone, and welcome to Grammar Series number 5, Compound Complex Sentence. So, probably this is the last grammar series for sentence structures or different sentence structures in English. And if you haven't watched Grammar Series 1, 2, 3, and 4, they're about sentence, simple sentence, compound sentence, and complex sentence. Before you're gonna have this last sentence structure, I want you to watch them first because these last sentence structure is a bit hard to understand if you haven't established a good foundation with the simple, compound, and complex sentences. So this video is brought you by the English Test Prep providers, and I am your teacher, Anthony Villan. I am a licensed professional teacher and TOEFL and TESOL certified. So without any further ado, let's dive right into it. Compound complex sentence. Let's recap what is a compound sentence. First, compound sentence has two complete sentences, and we call them two complete sentences as independent clauses. Complex sentence has one complete sentence and one incomplete sentence. The one incomplete sentence is what we call dependent clause. This time, we are going to combine compound and complex sentence, and we call this sentence structure as compound complex sentence. So what is a compound complex sentence? Compound complex sentence has two or more independent clauses. So, these two independent clauses are often joined with at least one dependent clause. Okay, so it means these two or more independent clauses is the compound sentence, and the one dependent clause is part of the complex sentence. Okay. So remember, at least one dependent clause. So it means two or more complete sentences and one incomplete sentence. And that incomplete sentence depends on these two or more independent clauses. Let's have the examples of compound complex sentences. Let's read a sentence. Although they usually watch dramas, they decided to see a comedy and they enjoyed it very much. In our first clause, although they usually watch dramas, since it is introduced by a subordinator, this is our dependent clause. Another feature is that it ends with a comma. Always remember that, because if you didn't divide the dependent clause with a comma to other clauses, it might affect, or your sentence might appear to be ambiguous or unclear, because comma gives brevity to your writing. It gives or chunk the meaning. Okay, next, they decided to see a comedy and they enjoyed it very much. Okay, what are these clauses? Okay, they are the independent clauses. So, they are the independent clauses and they are joined with one of the coordinators, and they decided to see a comedy can stand as a sentence. They enjoyed it very much can stand as a sentence as well. So, when we have two independent clauses, we call this as a compound sentence. Now, this is an example of a compound complex sentences. Moving forward. Gregor had to wake up early to go practice, but he was glad he stayed up late because he was able to watch the championship game on TV. Let's dissect the sentence. Gregor had to wake up early to go to practice, but he was glad he stayed up late is our dependent clauses. The first independent clause is introduced by Gregor, which is the subject. Had to wake up early to go to practice is our complete predicate. And as you have noticed, we have a coordinator, but preceded by a comma. And the next clause, which is an independent clause as well, is introduced by he. He is a pronoun, and the referent of this pronoun or antecedent of this pronoun is Gregor. He was glad he stayed up late. So this sentence is contrasting that Gregor, in spite of waking up too early to go to practice, he was glad to stay up late. So what is the reason why he was glad to stay up late? And that introduces the second clause. This is our dependent clause. It is introduced by because. Because if he is used as a subordinator, if you are providing justification to your action or a rationale, or you are reasoning out. So why Gregor stayed up late? Because he was able to watch the championship game on TV. Because he was able to watch the championship game on TV is a dependent clause because it cannot stand as a sentence. So it requires clauses or sentences that can stand alone. So let's take practice. Number, so grab a pen and paper and number your paper 1 to 4. Now, tell whether a sentence is a complex or compound complex. And tell whether the independent clause. Number 1. So if you want to answer this, you can pause this video and try to determine if a sentence is a complex or compound complex. And of course, you have to look for the independent clause or the complete sentence. Number 1. So let's try to answer. Daryl is very good with a bow or bow, although it is odd that he never runs out of arrows. Let me read again. Daryl is very good at bow or with a bow, although it is odd that he never runs out of arrows. So what do you think is this sentence? Is this a compound complex sentence or a complex sentence only? Okay, so this is a complex sentence because it has only one complete sentence or independent clause. All right, this is also the answer. So this is also an independent clause. Okay, although is our subordinator, so this clause is our dependent. So this sentence has one independent clause and one dependent. Therefore, this is a complex structure or sentence. And the underlined clause is an independent clause. Just like what I mentioned during grammar series number 4, it's about complex structure. So you can transpose or reverse. You could also say, although it is odd that he never runs out of arrows, Daryl is very good with a bow, or bow rather. Number 2. Since Rick was their leader, he often made important decisions about where to relocate. Okay, so the independent clause here is he often made the important decisions about where to relocate. So is this a complex or compound complex sentence? Okay, so this is also a complex sentence Okay, it has one independent clause and one dependent clause. Moving forward. And by the way, our subordinator is since. Number 3. Herschel was their voice of reason, but he wasn't afraid to speak up because of his faith. So, we have two independent clauses, and they are Herschel was their voice of reason, but, and the second independent clause is he wasn't afraid to speak up. So both of these independent clauses can stand as sentences, and they are joined with one of the fanboys or coordinators, but so we have two independent clauses, while because of his faith is a dependent clause. So two complete sentences and one incomplete, or two independent clauses and one dependent clause. Thus, this is a compound complex sentence. Lastly, after he woke up, Jim looked around, but he couldn't find anyone in the empty hospital. Okay, Jim looked around is a complete sentence. He couldn't find anyone in the empty hospital is also a complete sentence. And they are joined by coordinator but. So but joins these two independent clauses, thus we have two complete sentences. How about after he woke up? So after he woke up is our dependent clause. So we have one dependent clause and two independent clauses. Thus, this is a compound complex sentence. Good job, everyone. So if you scored 4 or 3, good job. So if you need a hard time of knowing or constructing compound complex sentence or distinguishing this difference between the two, I want you to rewatch or watch grammar series number 4 that will introduce you to the realm of complex sentence. And if you need a hard time of knowing compound complex sentence, I want you to watch or rewatch our initial discussion about that. Okay. Do you have questions? So let's recap first. We learn about complex sentence. We learn about independent clause, dependent clause, subordinators. Remember that we also learned compound complex. Compound sentence, 2 dependent clauses, and 1 dependent clause composed compound complex sentence. Remember, 2 complete sentences and 1 dependent clause. We call that sentence compound complex sentence. So, should you need further guidance about learning English sentence structures? Or if you are preparing for IELTS, TOEFL, PTE academic, and other English proficiency tests where you are measured and graded when it comes to grammatical range and accuracy or sentence construction, you can reach us through our Facebook. You can also send us email through IELTSfreelancetutors@gmail.com, and you can also visit our website at etprepproviders.wixsite.com/Philippines. So we provide online tutorials for ESLs and online tutorials for English proficiency exams. So we are wanting to be part of your journey to learning English and journey to learning more about test prep for those English proficiency tests. So that is the end of our grammar series for sentence structures. So please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel If you really want to learn and to get fresh videos about English test prep providers and ESLs and test prep videos, so don't forget to click the notification bell to get the fresh videos. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you for watching and have a good day. Happy learning English. Bye for now.